Parshas Vayishlach. It's, we measure time on by the Parshas. That if you live the Parsha, you study the Parsha, you live the Parsha, you take the message of the Parsha seriously. So then you find that you really gauge time that way. Like when you get to Parshas Vayishlach, where we get to the meeting of Yaakov and Esav, and we get to the whole story with Shem and the beginning of the formation of the tribes of the Jewish people. So you feel like you think back to all previous years of when you've reached this place. You say, "Wow, like the year is just flying." Imagine we're at that already. Just a mere 4 weeks ago, we were talking about the transition between Noach and Avram, and now all of a sudden we're about to begin the formation of the Jewish people. It's just amazing in the book of Parshas how things move along and how we sort of move along with them. There's an incredible lesson at the very beginning of the parsha, though it's not really what I want to talk about, but that Yaakov, when he is about to meet Esav, so he sends a message to Esav, and the message that he sends to Esav is Im Lavan Garti, and the rabbis take the word Garti to be the word Taryag, if you play anagrams with it. So it comes out to be the word Taryag, which means 613. That he was saying to Esav, Im Lavan Garti, I lived with Lavan, Va'echer ad atan, it took me a long time to get here. What he was saying is that I kept 613 commandments, and I'm apologizing to you for the delay. So the rabbis are wondering what the whole drasha and the words in the pasuk, what the message is that Yaakov was really sending to Esav. That he says to him, I kept 613 commandments, and v'lo lamadati mimasav haroim, I didn't learn from his evil ways. And I'm sorry that I delayed. What was the message he was trying to send to Esav? So all the commentaries have something to say. Many of the commentaries say that he was saying to Esav was that, look, I'm still a tzaddik. You're not going to be able to hurt me. I was with a Lavan for all these years, and I kept 613 commandments. I stayed true to who I was, and you can't do anything to me. You can't harm me. Or there are others that say that he was saying to Esav is that, look, I did everything I was supposed to do, but I didn't get the brachas. I'm not coming back. I'm not coming to you as a blessed person. So you don't have to worry. You can drop your jealousy and anger because the blessing didn't work. When my kids were very, very, very wild, and I had a bunch of them, and when I would give brachas on Friday night, so I would joke around. I would close my eyes, and I would always say something special to them in my mind, and then whatever. It was a very sweet moment. And when they were particularly wild, I would open up my eyes afterwards, and I would say, "Nope, didn't work." So Lavan was saying to Yaakov was saying to Esav that it didn't work. Look at me. I'm the same guy. I didn't get any better. I didn't get filled with any more blessings. I'm just the same person. But I think there's another thing that Yaakov was saying. I think that Yaakov was saying to Esav that Im Lavan Garti, V'taryag mitzvos shomarti, V'lo lamadati mimasav haroim, that I kept 613 commandments. I didn't learn from his evil ways, and I delayed until now. He was saying to him a lament. He was saying to him that I was with a Lavan for all those years, and I wasn't able to learn from Lavan how to apply that fire and fervor that Lavan had for his idolatry. I wasn't able to learn how to apply that into my world, into the world of serving God. Because Lavan was manic about his connection to his idols. When his daughters left and his idols left, he ran after the idols. And he wanted to know, accusing his daughters, he wanted to know who stole my idols. And he sent a search party to look. He looked everywhere, high and low, until he found those idols. He says, "V'lo lamadati mimasav haroim," and he was trying to tell Esav that he's a nothing. He's not even an accomplished person because he couldn't even learn from Lavan how to apply some of that fire into his service of God. And that's of course something that we have to learn from the rest of the world. Look at the way the world, this parsha always falls around Thanksgiving. I used to give this drasha, and I used to say we have a lot to learn from the world, how they observe Thanksgiving. Once I had a secretary that came to me and she said, Thanksgiving's on a Thursday. She said, I need Wednesday off. You need Wednesday off? Okay. But why do I need Wednesday off? I'm having a lot of people. Making a big Thanksgiving dinner. Oh, really? How many people are you having? 6. 6? That's one side of the front of my table on Shabbos. Like, what are you talking about? And we do that twice on a Shabbos. Like, and on a Yontif, don't even talk to me. Like, what are you saying? You need that time off. But they were so focused on it. Everything, granted, I understand they only had it once a year. That's the reason why in California, when you buy a house, the dining rooms are very, very, very small. What do you need a dining room for? You use it twice a year and you have 6 people in your house. Well, you don't need a dining room. But Shabbos, you need a dining room. But you have something to learn from them. Because look at the way the world observes Thanksgiving, the way that they observe their holidays. Kratzmach. Try to find somebody to come into work on Kratzmach in America. It's not going to happen. No, it's not going to happen from the 15th already. 15th of December, the world starts to shut down. It opens up again around the 6th or 7th of January. Shkach, imagine if we did that. Imagine, I'm not advocating, but I'm saying imagine if we had that kind of focus before Yontif, that kind of energy that we put into the things we do. That'd be something amazing. I always remember Thanksgiving morning, we davened late because it was a vacation day. So on my way to shul, I live close to the shul, but on my way to shul, there was nobody in the street, no cars, no people. It sounds like the beginning of a poem. Right? There were nothing. Everything was quiet. There was nothing. I'm saying, imagine if on a Shabbos morning, that's the way it would be. That it was quiet. There was nothing. There was nobody other than people going to shul, but that there would be just total rest and break. It would be amazing. In Love and Gati, we've lived with this for thousands of years. V'taryag mitzvah shemati. We hold on to our mitzvahs, but perhaps we have something to learn from their masav, from their actions that we can take and apply to the way we perform our mitzvahs, to the hislavos, to the energy, to the excitement that we have to do the things that we do. Okay, just a thought. Torah says that there were 11 sons that came to meet Esav on that fateful day when Esav and Yaakov were going to reunite. But there wasn't just 11 sons. There was 11 sons and a daughter. Where was Dinah? And don't tell me that Dinah, she doesn't matter. She's a girl. She mattered a lot. Where was Dinah? So our rabbis tell us that Dinah was there. She was there for that meeting, but she was in a box. And she was hidden away from Esav because Yaakov didn't want it to happen that Esav would become attracted to her and that he would lose his daughter to Esav. Now, just a parenthetical question, which is, it's incredible, really, when you think about it. Leah was called of ruddy eyes, right? She had bad eyes. Our rabbis tell us that why did she have ugly eyes? Because she was crying all the time. And why was she crying all the time? Because she knew that she was going to marry Esav, that Rachel was going to marry Yaakov, she was going to marry Esav, and she was distraught over the fact that she had to marry Esav. And she was thrilled when it turned out she wouldn't have to. She wasn't taken to task for not wanting to be connected to Esav. Why was Yaakov taken to task for not wanting Dinah to be connected to Esav? It's for another time. But she's hidden away in this box, and Yaakov is taken to task, and Leah and Dinah undergoes this terrible event with Shem because she was hidden away from Esav. When Yaakov Avinu confronted his children after the event with Shem, and after they ended up giving Shem bris milah, and on the third day they went in and they wiped out the city of Shem, he turned to them and he said to them, what did you do to your, what did you do? He says, Vayomer Yaakov, he says to them, El Shimon ve'el Levi, You've embarrassed me, b'yoshev ha'aretz, amongst the people, the Canaani and the Perizi. You've made it very difficult for me to now continue to operate in my operations of settling us in this land. They're going to come attack me. We're going to be destroyed. And what was their reaction to Yaakov? It wasn't, sorry, Dad. Maybe we should have asked you. Sorry, we did this. They turn to the father and they say, Vayomru, together. Should we let our daughter, our sister, be treated like a zayna? Be treated like a prostitute or a foreigner? No, should we just let this happen to her and be quiet? What's going on here? She was raped. It was a bad situation. It was Yaakov's daughter. Why shouldn't they have? What was Yaakov saying to them? You've embarrassed me. Why was that a taina? You've embarrassed me? You've made me look bad? What was the relationship between Esav and Leah? They were cousins. And Yaakov and Esav, they were brothers. What's the definition of a brother? Definition of a brother is a person that we would go to the end of the world to help out. You know the word mishpacha? Mishpacha? The root of the word mishpacha is shifcha. Shifcha means a maidservant. Families are connected. They're indebted to each other. Families are there to serve each other, to help each other. There's an incredible connection because of the help and because of the energy that we give to each other. But it's even greater by a brother and sister. Levi and Shimon wiped out an entire town. And what does the Torah call them? The brothers of Dinah. Why not just Levi and Shimon? Because what the Torah is telling me is that they were at that moment brothers. Because they risked their lives for her, they defined themselves as a brother. This is a huge insight into the mitzvah of Yibum. There's a mitzvah that if one brother is married and he dies childless, then the other brother has to marry his wife in order to make him shame, in order to continue to establish his name. This is a reality in the Torah. Nowadays, we don't do the mitzvah of Yibum, we do the disconnection of a Yibum, which is called the chalitza. I know, we still do them. It's not something we do very, very often, but they're still done on a regular basis. I know a young girl who got married. Her husband died weeks after they were married, and she had to have a chalitza from his brother. No matter, the concept of this mitzvah of Yibum is no matter who he was, it didn't make a difference if he was a great guy or not a great guy. You have to perpetuate brotherhood. Because brotherhood is giving up something for your brother. What did Cain say when he killed Hevel? God came to him and said, "Where's your brother?" And he said, "Hashomer achi anochi? Am I my brother's guardian?" And though it doesn't say the words in the Torah, God answers him, "Yeah, you are his guardian." Because that's the connection that you're meant to have. That's what Klal Yisrael is made up of. Bas Paro goes down to the river. Commentaries say she was going down to the river to convert. She goes in and she hears a baby crying. The Torah tells us that she hears the Na'ar Boche, and she realizes it's a Jewish child. Now that's weird. What did the child cry that she knew it was a Jewish child? Jewish kvetching is no different than non-Jewish kvetching. Well, basically, but it's not different. So what did it mean that she heard the cry of the child? Well, presumably it was talking about Moshe. How did she know from the cry of the child? So Rashi, the commentaries say that because he cried in a very thick voice, he had a mature voice, and he was only weeks old, and therefore she knew that this was a miraculous baby. But there's a commentary that says that when it says that she heard the Na'ar Boche, the child cry, that wasn't Moshe. That was Aaron crying. Aaron, Moshe's older brother, was standing by the side. A little baby himself was standing by the side and crying about what was going to happen to his brother. And when she saw a brother crying for a brother, she knew that that was a Yiddish baby. In the Chayei Sarah, Lavan cleans out the house. He says, Panisias Habayis, because he cleans it out from Avodah Zarah, he cleans it out from idolatry when he meets Eliezer. And he kept it that way for 20 years. Really? You kept it that way for a long time without idols? Yeah, because for family, we make accommodations. That's why they turned to their father and they said to him, Hakazayna? Is really, this is the lesson that you want to teach us about the way we're supposed to be to our sister? That we're supposed to just let her be like a stranger to us, like somebody on the outside, like somebody who's of ill repute, somebody who doesn't matter? That's not what you want us to know and the way you want us to act, Dad. The Torah calls Shimon and Levi an Ish. He calls Shimon an Ish. He calls him an adult. Because what's an adult? An adult is somebody who's willing to put their life on the line for somebody else. And that's one of the messages that this incident is meant to teach us. Without having to moralize, without having to look at it and say, is what they did moral, is what they did ethical or unethical. At the end of the day, they acted like brothers. And that's ultimately the way that one Jew is meant to see another. We're meant to see each other not as cousins. We're meant to see each other not merely as mishpacha, but we're meant to see each other as brothers. It explains many of the mitzvahs that we have, ben adam l'chavero, between one person and another. The reason why shochad, why charging interest is considered such a horrible thing, is because that's not the way brothers are with each other. Your brother needs a few dollars, you give him a few dollars. He needs to be taken care of, you take care of him. You rush to help a brother. And that's one of the messages that the Torah is telling me about this event that took place. It wants us to walk away from it understanding that whatever they were, that they were wild and that they didn't ask their father and that there were mistakes made here. But at the end of the day, it was brothers acting like brothers. And why is that so critical? Because look at our history. Look at how we began. Just a few minutes into the world, two brothers, one killed the other, wiped out, at that point, wiped out a quarter of the world with one blow. It was a horrific event. But it's not because of the statistics that it was a horrific event or because of the math. It was a horrific event because it tore away the fabric of brotherhood. And that didn't repair itself until we went down to Egypt. Going down to Egypt is not just when we actually showed up in Mitzrayim, but when we started to form as a nation, that's when brotherhood started to repair itself. It was torn by Cain and Hevel. It continued to tear between Avram and his brothers. It continued to tear in the children of Avram, Yitzchak and Yishmael, Yaakov and Esav, Yosef and his brothers. But this event was the beginning of the repair, setting the groundwork. We fell down still after this. There was still the whole event of Yosef and his brothers, but this at least laid the groundwork for the beginning of the closure of the fissure that existed in humanity and in our souls that needed to be cleansed and needed to be perfected. And that's exactly what happened when we went down to Egypt. With all the suffering that we did in Egypt, the one thing that it did for us is that it brought us closer to each other. And the moment that we started to act like brothers, the moment that we stopped gossiping about each other, which was one of the reasons that Moshe realized that we were put in slavery in the first place, when he saw Dasan and Aviram who were willing to sell him, to throw him under a bus, by telling Paro that he had killed an Egyptian, he realized that was the basis of the problem that existed in the Jewish people, that we couldn't trust each other and we were not like brothers. And then when Moshe came back some 40 years later to take the Jews out of Egypt, and he told Paro a story about going out for 3 days, and everybody knew that was just a story. They weren't going out for 3 days. They were going out forever. And Dasan and Aviram said nothing. At that moment, Moshe turns to God and he says to him, Lama hariosa la'amazeh, why are you doing terrible things to this nation? Because they're repaired now. They are brothers. And that's one of the key things that we try to achieve in our life through the mitzvos of ben adam lechavero. It's not merely being a nice person to another person, but it's looking at them and treating them and recognizing that we are all brothers and sisters with each other. And therefore, the way that we deal with each other is not just because you got to be nice to people, but this is the way brothers act to each other. Okay, my thought. I wish everybody a beautiful, wonderful, amazing day and a beautiful, wonderful, amazing Shabbos. And we, Mirz Hashem, will see each other again on Sunday morning.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom. Thank you.
Shabbat shalom.
Can I just ask if anybody has had any problem? For some reason or other, I did what I do every day, and when I put in 1, 2, 3, it kept saying incorrect password. Nobody else had that problem?
No.
Maybe you had a space at the beginning, or you did return after it. That can
No.
spoils it.
All right, I'll see what happens Sunday.
Okay,
Thank
Mirz
you.
Hashem.
Bye-bye.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Okay, my
Thank
pleasure.
you so much.
My pleasure. Shabbat shalom.